What's up, everybody? Welcome to yet another session of the Chill Space Show. 10th day of the moon, 81.8% waxing gibbous. Little fresh tune in the background. What's going on, Jared? You're first. What's up, Light Moon? What's up, Genghis Khan and Scott Ferguson? What's hapsin'? Hope everybody's feeling good today, having a nice Thursday. Weekend's nearly here. I got some clear skies for a bit. See some clouds looming, but right now it's nice and sharp. Yo, what's up, Selena Lion? Selena Lion? Cool name. What is the moon? What is she? I don't know, but definitely an object of wonder. Ponder and jam too. That's why I watch. Let me know how the weather's at, where you're at, what the weather's like, and if you can see the moon yourselves. It's pretty high up there. I don't think I can see Saturn. It's about to set, and Jupiter is long set at this point. I think a few nights back was that last shot. What's going on, Carolina Sky Astronomy? How you feeling? What's going on, Tammy? Thumbs up to you. Shoutouts to Jersey. What's up, Shelly? Sorry you got rain. What's happening 24/7? That's strange that you didn't get the notification. Maybe double check on the bell. Shoutouts to Birmingham. Rain, cloudy, Carolina. Damn. I feel lucky now. But it's funny, like, it's been so clear this evening, and I finally got a chance to set up. And then right now I see this big cloud looming. You can already see it starting to creep, so I hope it doesn't turn sour just now. Let's see what's going on. Yo, yo. Y'all seeing this interesting shape in the middle of, I think this is Mare Tranquillitatis. Super fascinating, like an elongated diamond. Let's take a look at that a little bit closer. I don't think I've really ever noticed it. Maybe I have, but not in this kind of detail. It's so obvious. Let me know if you see what I'm drawing. Yeah, this dead center of Sea of Tranquility. Thank you, clouds. Now get the hell out of here. Let me know if you see this object that I'm drawing and what you think of that. Because I feel it's like, it's one of the things that I've been talking about where it almost mirrors what's next to it, which is right next to Proclus. Right here, you got this type of like extended diamond shape. And this thing is like a crystal. Just logging this for reference. Right here is Proclus, Mare Crisium. This is Mare Fecunditatis, Sea of Tranquility over here, large one. And there's this kind of other diamond shape right here, right in the center, nested. Snap, what's up, David? Welcome, Electric Universe Eyes. I've been watching bits of your recent videos. Really nice, man. Keep it up. Oh, you're listening to me on the Electric View? That's awesome. Yeah, and I appreciate everybody leaving all the nice comments on the Electric View show. Shameless self-promotion. I rarely do it, but... And I'm also rarely on other people's shows, so... Here's what David was just listening to. I know I've posted a couple of times. Oh, you're in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma? Crazy. You're in your car? Or just in like a motel? What up? Alright, so taking a look at Mare Crisium, Proclus, Sea of Tranquility, and this nested geometry. I just am waiting for it to clear up a little bit. I can't believe like I sat here for an hour just eating my dinner and seeing it was like crispy out. And then I finally set up and the clouds moved in. Per usual. David, let me know if you rental at a hotel. Cool. Let me know if you saw what I was just sketching. I'm gonna sketch it one more time. This is Sea of Tranquility, dead center, and I'm just gonna show this diamond feature that this is the first time I've ever drawn it. Oh, there it is. I kept the render from earlier. It's insane inside this bubble. But yeah, this bit right here. So it's so interesting. I don't think I've really noticed it before, I gotta say. I feel stupid. This thing. But it doesn't surprise me. The shape is so interesting. It's like an elongated, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 heptagon. Yo, what up, American Life videos? So let's check out some other areas. Electric Universe Eyes says, looks like the filament danced around. A central arc will swirl round and round. I just added that. Will swirl round and split off, switching back and forth. That's what I see in it. Awesome. I'm gonna have to have you on the show one night, man, when you have a little bit of time. And we'll just talk about it some more. Can I zoom in on the bright spots? Sure I can. Sure you can. But, let's see. Yo, what up, Rockstar? How's it going? So I'm just waiting for some clouds to move through. It's nice that the clouds kind of moved in, but are not really obscuring the view too badly. Respect to y'all. Thanks every night for coming through, hanging out with me. Yeah, like I was saying, full moon days. I just mean like maybe a day before the day of the full moon or the day after, because it's kind of like the biggest window of time. And I can also set up on a different computer and play some live tunes maybe. Yo, what's happening, Sully's? Sully's Girl 89, what up, what up? Hey, thank you, appreciate it. Alright, so it looks like it's clearing a bit. I'm going to zoom in, get rid of the extender tube, and we'll get closer. Rock some horn stabs. Yeah, I never get bored of it either. All good, everybody. Shoutouts, Ryan, what's going on? Seems like it's moving. Just enjoying another smoothie tonight. Smoothie! Not much to report besides space is electric. Big news, everybody. Space is electric. Haven't you heard? Quick shout out to Electric Universe peeps and channels. Roll call going through it. The Electric View, Thunderbolts Project, Electric Terra Vision, Greg J, Electric Universe Eyes, and Kronos with a K. See the Pattern, Gareth, Suspicious Observers, Electric Sputtering Discharge. I don't know why I put that, but that's somebody's channel. And Halton Arp, Intrinsic Redshift, and then check out Sky Scholar, Dr. Pierre-Marie Robitaille. Just expand the knowledge tree. What up, Howie Dunn? What's going on? The two tools that I use, I have an open source Virtual Moon Atlas application, and I have Stellarium version 0.18, and that seems to be the most consistent, even though sometimes it'll tell me Jupiter has a great red storm and I don't see it. So there are some discrepancies, but pretty much it's accurate with the moon and the position of it. So I would recommend Stellarium and Virtual Moon Atlas. And same thing, Virtual Moon Atlas, sometimes I'll put in the coordinates and the terminator will be in the wrong position. So it's close, but it's not perfect. As it clears, I just want to show you, yeah, there's a Mare Fecunditatis is a diamond shape, exactly. But in the center of Tranquility is this diamond shape that I hadn't really seen before. And it's very prominent tonight. I think, I'm trying to think whether I've noticed it and thought it was just like, oh, maybe it just was before I was sketching all the hexagons. What's up, P-Rogue? jams. Let's look at this one more time. So this is Mare Tranquillitatis, Sea of Tranquility. Take a look at this crazy shape. I feel like I've never seen it before. Or at least I've never pointed it out. So this is the first. And you'll see there's another diamond shape within. Hey, what's up, James Bishop? And hi, Mary. I hope you're feeling better. Lurk away. Sully says those 3 dots in the craters last night. Which crater? I'm not remembering. Are you thinking Clavius or Crisium? Let me know. Chilling like a supervillain. Damn, the clouds just moved in hard. Let me clear this for a sec. Yo, what's going on, everybody? What's up, Mr. Sexy Potato? If you don't mind clarifying your question, space is electric. What is my belief around the moon? In what sense do you mean? Historically, or how it works, or I don't know. Please clarify and I'll answer. Anyway, so I feel like it's clearing a little bit, dare I say, but I really want to focus in on this feature tonight, which is Center of Tranquility. And Sully's, are you thinking it's Sinus Iridum, or like 3 dots in it? I'm trying to think. You thinking like Posidonius? What's up, Ellie Wynn and Les Chats, Les Cats? Ellie Wynn got a new feature tonight that I'm highlighting. I don't know why I've never noticed it before, but check this crazy diamond crystal. I already have the sketch from earlier, but if you can focus in on it, you'll see. Look at that. It's like a stamp right in the middle. I don't think I've ever seen this pointed out before, so let me know if you see it clearly, and then we can... Oh, birdie. Thanks. I think the moon's pretty high up there. That has to be a bird. It's huge. It's pretty funny. Check this out. This looks like the number 14 etched into the surface. Let this resolve for a second. It was definitely a bird just flopping across the screen. Mr. Sexy Potato approaches this in an interesting way and says, I hope you don't believe we landed there. I don't know. It's hard to say, I'll be honest. I'm very, very skeptical, but there's incredible images that are very hard to fake. There are thousands of images, actually. And I think that we have very high-level technology, but at the same time, we're like all the missions that were put on the media exactly accurate and honest? I don't know. But don't judge me for not taking a side. At one point, depending on the day, you'll get a different answer. Like flying trash bag. Pterodactyl. How you nailed it. All right, I'm going to keep moving through. Yeah, maybe Kubrick, maybe media. It doesn't matter, really. Like, ether for sure. But ether is like another word for dark matter, dark energy. It's another word for space. Essentially, ether is this kind of catch-all phrase for like everything. The Akashic record, space, everything that it contains. It could also be the space in between objects. So ether is also sort of misunderstood. But Ken Wheeler has good explanations of it. What's going on, Trevor Aubin? Especially, I'll tell you the images from the moon that confuse me are Apollo 16 ultraviolet imaging telescope. So they did eventually take a telescope, apparently, and landed on the moon and took pictures of Earth with an ultraviolet setup. And those pictures are almost impossible to fake, like, because you can test them against contemporary images. And I don't know, it's really hard to say. Anyway, what I realize is the bigger conception of it is less about like taking the time to point out all the flaws of agencies and corporations, and then instead take all that anger and resentment and that kind of like you lied to me energy and turn it into either positivity, you know, which is kind of the easiest way, but really turn it into content. So go and make news that's better than the media news. Go invent the next engine. Go write the next better song than some pop song that you hate. You know what I mean? That kind of thinking is actually way more productive than worrying about what NASA does. So I tend to kind of do what I do so that I can bitch as much as possible about NASA, but I'm also producing content to replace it at the same time. So I feel like we're never going to get away from complaining, but I think at the same time we should also be creating. Honestly, forget about what you heard. Figure it out for yourself. If you're constantly referencing what other people say, then you're really just putting together kind of, you know, other people's ideas. It's better to kind of really go out and do some work, like, you know, till a field, or grow a plant, or write a song, or, you know, get a telescope and take some pictures of the moon and analyze them without sharing it with anybody. That type of action is actually, I feel, much more productive for me than it is to just like what I used to do, which was sit on YouTube all day and complain. But damn, Mary, I'm so sorry you're feeling in pain. Sending you some good vibes. Play the special song. See, this is what I can do. Pass on healing music medication. And people are free to find it, and others are free to ignore it at their own peril. Light as a propagation of the ether. Yes, I think that there are all these models about particle physics. I think that this idea of sound through what we consider light or illumination or vibration is sort of what we see as all matter. Pinches, bubbles, fully interconnected branches from the smallest to the largest as far as we can see. And then beyond that, what's the point of really considering what is not considerable? Because the further you get away, the more you don't spend time doing what you're actually doing. That whole idea of living in the moment is actually just doing something. It's not about considering what to do. So, catch. Of course, I dropped the damn controller.
I left home at 17. Couldn't tell you if I was living a dream. What could I do? For a while I played the field. How could I prove the hidden yield without the blue? love you. Take a good look. It's a simulation. Wake up in solitary. Wake up, it's imaginary. And don't you know your life is worth more than what you have. Take a good look. It's a simulation. Wake up in solitary. Wake up, it's imaginary. Man, don't you know your life is worth more than Catch me if you fall, catch me if you're low. The loot goes high and up, as fast as you can go. Oh, catch me if you fall, catch me when you're low.
All right. That was a little catch for y'all. So it's clearing up really nicely. Just gonna let this bass line drop and we'll talk about some transients. Okay, so Trevor earlier asked me if can I elaborate on transients. So I'm not sure if you mean transient lunar phenomenon, or which I assume you mean, but transients are also what's it called, waveforms, peaks of waveforms in music. So like the pinnacle of a wave. So when you see like a drum track and there's a spike, that's a transient. But transient lunar phenomenon are the bright white spots that we see on the moon scattered about on smaller strikes and some on larger ones like Proclus right here. Atmospheric effects are diffraction, refraction, tilting, bending of light. We see that a lot, like you get chromatic shifting, you'll get fringing, you get displacement, like you see a spoon in water. But transient lunar phenomenon is more like, I don't know if you really see it from space on Earth photos because we already have electricity everywhere and it's already sparking and glowing. But on the moon, like right here at Proclus, I can sketch it and show y'all. It's from earlier. All right, so hexagon, Mare Crisium, really prominent hexagonal feature. Just watched it for years and never understood what I was looking at. And then what's very interesting is that Mare Crisium has a kind of chain, which I feel wraps around like that, like an S curve. It's hard to see it at certain phases. Right now it's tough to see the craters north of Crisium because it's tilted away from us librationally. Right now you see, if you compare the width and the size of Mare Crisium that I just drew over compared to another night where it's tilted towards us, you'll see how much more of it you see. Right now it's really small comparatively. This is a perfect example of why the moon rotates, one, and two, how you see different parts of the far side of the moon that we think we don't see. So we see about 62 point something percent of the total surface of the moon at different times. So right behind Mare Crisium, you got Mare Undarum and Mare Marginis underneath it, the kind of stretched and kind of boiled lava type situation. And so let's zoom in here at Proclus and I can talk about the kind of popular beliefs of what goes on and what I think it may be. Actually, Trevor keeps going, says, why platonic shapes? So before I zoom in, actually, I'll do that before because we can see everything together. So why platonic shapes? Because I think that I've watched this documentary recently about bubbles that I'll link to. Let me find that first. Spark. The Science of Bubbles. It's very cheesy and kind of popular science tinted, but there's great footage in it and there's very basic pedestrian understanding of bubbles. But just the footage alone, for people who are curious, you'll see what I'm talking about when I talk about what I think that the moon basically looks like when you pour water, when you bake a cake or make a pancake in a pan, or when you boil water or soap in a sink. So you get these big bubbles, and then you get these smaller bubbles, and then tinier and tinier bubbles. So it's this kind of recursive fractal holography, if you will, or magnitudes of matter. Tiny, 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 and it's called diffusion patterns. And it's also based on pressure. So essentially water, which the whole world and universe, a lot of it is water. Water is trying to turn into a sphere because it's the least amount of surface area. And so this bubble documentary explains surface tension and surface area in terms of water trying to seek the smallest shape it possibly can. And so when water is unhindered by another object or another density, it will take on the shape of a bubble, which is a perfect sphere, or roughly a perfect sphere, which is distorted. And this is why planets are spherical, Earth is spherical, the moon is spherical, because water, essentially, which governs a lot of things, wants to turn things into the least amount of surface area possible. And then further than that, when a bubble meets another, it's aware of its magnetic field, and it'll press up against the side of that bubble, which is a sphere, and condense it, and they'll form a boundary. So that boundary becomes a straight wall, and the angle that it reaches is 120 degrees, which is apparent at all these hexagonal structures. So Mare Crisium ultimately seems like a sphere that was spreading outwards, and it meets boundary layers. And because that's the way water tries to find the least amount of surface area and the strongest connection between the next object, it'll flatten its walls and create these 120 degrees. That's why hexagons and platonic shapes. And if you look at that documentary and you kind of look at the moon, plus the sketches I'm about to do, it'll make perfect sense. To become a bubble, exactly. So Mare Crisium is basically spherical, maybe a little bit smaller, let's say here, and it's growing outwards. And it's growing outwards, 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 and then it finally meets like a pressure zone. And what happens is it starts to push like Tetris or gummy bears into the smallest shape it can finally fit to in order to keep its shape, I guess. Smallest surface area, rather. So I feel like that's happening not only on the moon, but it's happening in molecular structure. It's happening in nebula, in quasars, in apple cores. I'll show you what I mean. So like hexagon, honeycomb, and then you have a larger one. Whoops. Some of them are pentagons because they're trying to form, because they get squeezed even more, I feel. So the top right here of Sea of Serenity has probably reached a pressure zone here where it kind of broke the hexagonal pattern. I'm not really sure about why that happens, but it seems to happen a lot where you have heptagons, octagons, dodecas, and pentagons at a kind of rate of 1 to 3, but mostly you get hexagons, if you can see. What's going on, Wolf River? How you doing? Yeah, so this is how I feel like Sea of Serenity and Sea of Tranquility should be interpreted by popular science. I don't know like where it leads because like I'm not a geologist or, you know, I'm really an amateur at this, but I see patterns, I see dead patterns. I see these patterns emerge in all types of New Age philosophy, in conspiracy land, in popular science, you name it. Everybody's talking about infinity signs, the yin-yang, the torus, and people don't seem to want to put it all together. It seems like everything is discrepant. But instead, what I'm trying to say is like, if you can look at an object like the moon and see things like a torus or an infinity sign, and you can see the the hyperboloid, the hourglass shape, which is taking in energy and releasing energy at the same time. And this is where life exists. And what's interesting is that this is sort of where, if you follow Ken Wheeler's stuff, like there are also magnets here. So there are poles that create mutual mass acceleration towards a null zone. These are like plasmoids and black holes. Yeah. So if you want to put it all together, it seems like it's there, but everybody wants to have their own YouTube channel. So, the structure of molecular, like sugars, salts, probably mimic the same structure that I'm drawing here. What's going on, Jax? Yeah, so that's something I've been trying to articulate for a lot of years, and I finally understand how to by showing it. And everybody can look at the moon themselves and draw these shapes and figure it out. So it seems like the moon's surface was basically bubbled or boiled, and this idea that it went through a heavy bombardment back in 4 billion years ago, because all that scientists have right now is this idea of impact, thermodynamics, gravity, they don't really incorporate the idea of electric discharge machining, which is electrical interaction between planetary bodies and comets. But if you look at Ceres, and you look at Comet 67P, and you look at the moon, and then you look at something like Charon, the moon of Pluto, or really any rocky body in space, you'll find the same types of recursive bubble-shaped patterns that have resulted in either masses of little, what seem like little circular craters, but are really all microhexagons, because they're little bubbles that have formed next to one another. Some in isolation, so some are more circular than others, but the large ones seem to meet pressure zones and create hexagons. And so that's why the North Pole of Saturn, or the poles of planets, are hexagonal, because it seems to be the same thing. These etheric forces around the Birkeland filament are trying to create spheres, and they meet pressure zones, and they push up against it and create hexagons. It's time to integrate this type of science into thinking, and then try and expand and create new theories instead of rehashing the same stuff. Yeah. So it's looking nice and clear. I feel like it's a little grainy. I want to see if maybe my settings are off and stretch my legs. But let me know if you have any other questions about that sort of stuff, and let's listen to a new tune. Yo, Trevor Albin is asking some good questions. Says, could you explain for the audience the tangents which spawn from impact craters? Definitely, that's a very important point. It's something I'm still learning about. Rick and Neil from the Electric View seem convinced that these trails go towards the crater as opposed to emanate from the center of Tycho, for example. Let me get this up here. The most prominent one being right here, Tycho crater. here. Tycho with a central peak, sharp walls, and really intense ray formations. So if we follow these rays, I'm going to try and draw it neatly. But you'll see this is one of the main ones where the ray does not actually reach the center point like a bullet or an impact. This is the simplest proof imaginable for showing that these are not actually impact craters. Why radial is because I think it's, let me just do this other one, and cutting right by Bullialdus, that lone crater by the edge of the chain. Now it's moved a little bit, but it's really like, even if the right one came to the center, the left one is basically tangential to Tycho. And then further than that, let's go down. Howie says, why so many hexagons in nature? So the quick and dirty of what a recap of what I was talking about. Check out the link I shared earlier about the bubbles. But basically, when a bubble rises, and you have another bubble going that way, what happens is they merge right around here. That's what happens. This is moving, that's moving. And then other bubbles come and form right over here, pack in there. Some retain their form better than others. Some push harder. It's like basically organic Tetris. You can imagine it. But if you try and draw a circle that matches the edges, you'll ultimately end up with hexagons and pentagons because it's trying to fit. This is the strongest form it can find. I'm telling you, like, I've been looking at this really deeply, and if you watch the Bubble documentary, you'll see that you can do it yourself. You can set up all these elaborate ways of creating bubbles and create all sorts of hexagons that retain shape and look exactly like surfaces of the moon and comets and planets, etc. And this further, if you watch the documentary, they'll show that the swirls on the outside of the bubble mimic the storms and the patterns on Jupiter and Saturn and Neptune because they're free-flowing across this thin film, the surface area and surface tension of basically water that's either pure or tainted. It's a really fascinating concept because it really explains what you see, and you can test it very cheaply. So that's why hexagons, and the more bubbles there are, the more walls there are, the more you'll get squeezed into forms that look geometric. And so the rays, if they're not from impacts, so basically like something traveling like this, like some sort of craggly rock coming like this, right? This is the idea. This is kind of at some point 4 billion years ago, this, another one, like spewing fire and brimstone are like smashing into the moon, right? All right, because boys like their toys. They like to shoot things and blow things up. But let's say it was more like Mars about 2-3 million miles away, and Mars was supercharged. Or maybe it was Venus, right? Or maybe it was Earth, who knows? Like supercharged, like 10,000 years ago. And the moon was supercharged. Because we don't know, like maybe. And so Mars got a little too close to the field of the moon. And it went little sharp zap of electricity. Zap, 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 zap. Just like we get static electricity when we touch a doorknob, or even worse, when you get zapped by your own plug. like, it's the worst feeling, getting fucking zapped by a plug or a lamp that sucks. Oh, the worst one for me is like I was performing on stage once and I was holding an electric guitar and my lip got zapped from the microphone. It was the freaking worst. Okay, so that's what's happening, I think. Like, there's a certain period of epoch where planets and the moon seem to have been active electrically, and people tell me, oh, you need atmosphere for electricity, or you need space to be electric. Well, it seems to be electric because we see it, and electricity can really explain the orbit and the nature of magnetism. You know, they go hand in hand, really. And consciousness, you know, can be explained through electricity as well. So back to the sketching. So you got Zap Brannigan hitting up. So maybe they interacted because they were very large, right? Maybe Mars was still smaller than it was today, and the moon was still smaller, and they were growing, and they interacted electrically. So this charged plasmoid, plasma bolt, Birkeland filament, whatever you want to call it, like static electricity at a cosmological scale, holds on to the moon or moves across the surface, or maybe stays in one place. I mean, Electric Universe Eyes is here. You know, we got a bunch of people who know how to do this stuff in a laboratory and move filaments across the surface of an object. And you can see, like, these are the types of shapes that we see because what they're doing is they're mirroring the shape of the lightning bolt on the surface of what they're carving. Dendritic, Lichtenberg dendrites, patterns like that, like neurons and nerve endings and synapses. That's why the moon looks carved and electrical, but it also looks periodolic, which makes your mind think of patterns. You see faces and creatures. The reason you see that is because we're modeled on electrical formations, on plasma, that are recursively geometric throughout our consciousness and throughout our culture.
The midnight moon, maybe right up with the midnight moon, maybe right up the midnight moon, right up past midnight.
back on the mic. Looking at Valles Alpes, the Alpine Mountain Range, Plato Crater, and tons of tunes for the moons. Miguel, take care, man. Catch you soon. Look at this color tonight. It's pretty incredible. We got the trio Archimedes crater to the left, and to the right Aristillus, and then the small one is Autolycus. Right at the gateway of the Apennines. Coming up at Eratosthenes and Copernicus, along with the little filamentary chains of micro craterlets. To me, look like chains of stars or lymph nodes along a system. I'm just letting it resolve so we get a few sharp frames. up, everybody? The dankness of tonight. Another killer view. Love to be patient and then be rewarded. Right here at the dinosaur graveyard. I'm just kidding. The Moonosaurs. That still sounds funny. Anyway, little matter, moon matter, looking like little sputter. That's what I was looking for. Sputter discharge. And these kind of sinuous valleys looking like dendrites moving through a nervous system all the way. It also probably looks like coastlines as we cut down the Terminator. This is all the way through. Look at this, it's coming right up at, am I wrong? It was Aristarchus, right? No, not possible. I think it's Kepler, actually. I'm gonna zoom out and double check. Yeah, definitely Kepler, not Aristarchus. But look at all these features coming up on Kepler. Great relief. Oh, Lunasaur, exactly, that's pretty good. Looks like the moon's underwater. What's up, Jake Fiend? It's really more due to the fact that we are underwater, or in water. Our atmosphere is just so turbulent. So the view we're getting is affected by that. I think mostly. Like there are certain skies that are much more arid, drier, and you get much less of this like turbulence. But I'm not complaining. The view is really sharp. Let's take a look at this. It's crazy. 1 second, check this out. It almost looks like a 4-leaf clover situation. No, man. Let me try it this way. Some situation like that. Let's see if you can't see it. See it? Let it settle for a second. It's also humid. It's so true. Brain is working definitely slower in situations like this, especially in front of the double computer monitor. Humidity plus the monitors, it just makes it like insane. Maybe I'm just seeing things. Now I see it right now, look at that. It's like, it's almost like part of a key. That's how I noticed it. Look at it, it looks like a skeleton key. Let's see if I can't sketch the rest of this. Also not repeating this song, I just had that. How about something else? There you go. That's our little skeleton key. Not the best key I've ever drawn. But the moon does a better job than me anyway, so. There we go. Do I have to run a fan or some kind for the scope? No, usually it's just on the cusp. I basically leave the viewfinder extended, the battery door open, and the side door open. And it's outside, so we'll see. On the 11th, when I try the Mercury transit, I might have to put an umbrella over it and an ice pack underneath it, like I used to. But the A6.5 out of the A6 and A6.3 has been the best so far. It barely overheats with the battery pack, and like I said, I keep it open. My mind, though, could use a fan and an ice pack on my back. All right, keep moving through here. So that was moving past Kepler, looking amazing. All these filaments and little sputter marks right here, Kepler, almost like a spider web. It's the same thing. Bees building their hives and spiders building their webs are based on the same principles as that thing I was talking about with bubbles, trying to find the least amount of surface area. Strongest shapes form naturally. And then coming up to a cool little tower. This is really interesting looking. You gotta love it. And I understand why people think there are bases and structures on the moon, but this is something like 150 kilometers or more of area, you know. That would mean, if you can imagine like the size of buildings compared to a single kilometer versus 100 kilometers, you'll realize that like there wouldn't need to be structures that large, one, on the moon. And two, if there were structures that large on the moon, they would face such danger constantly from all sorts of things like micrometeorites and solar wind, and just basically being that tall. So I don't think that we can see bases or buildings or anything like that, or ships with homemade telescopes, or even large telescopes for that matter. Although I'm sure you can see amazing stuff with a 200-inch. Yo, more Jello, have more Penang. That sounds really good, actually. Here's another crater. Let me see if I can figure this one out. Yeah, that one should be... What is that? Is it Patatas? No, it's not Patatas. It's... I'm gonna find this one. It's pretty tricky. I thought I knew what it was, but it's not. It's like Mare Humorum. It's Gassendi. Yeah, I thought so. Okay, so Gassendi crater, right under the Terminator. So right now, see, it's a perfect example. My atlas has Gassendi fully covered, but in real life, I can see Gassendi crater very clearly. and you can see 120 degree corner. So easy to notice the hexagonal edges. But then of course you have a little crater on the edge, on the rim of that crater, and the central peak gleaming out through the darkness. I really like this one. I got a little badger. I don't know, see if y'all can spot the badger face or the little bear. Give y'all a second. that's it for me. Another night in the bag. That was night number 10. I'll catch you all tomorrow again for the next one. Hope you guys have and everybody have an excellent rest of your night and a great day tomorrow. Kelly Wynn, be well. American Life Videos, thanks for the great chat. Douglas Sipes, thanks for stopping by. Wolf River, always great having you. Sorry, I'm just scrolling here. So many things going on at once. So I got the Oxygen 3 filter on there, looking all green and dank. Close us out with a track here. Howie Dunn, thanks so much for all the puns, alliterations, and fun. Jake Fiend, thanks for hanging out, and more Jello if you're here, and Trevor Aubin for the great chat and good questions. Mary, I hope you feel well if you're still around, and Jax and Rockstar and Michael Wise, P Rogue, and Mr. Sexy Potato. All right, that's all I got over here. If I missed you, I still appreciate you. Take care. Catch you soon. Peace.
How we bleed, you got to know just when to heal. Better believe me, this is why we're real. Just know what you don't, and know just know when not to call. Better believe it, will it tell us all? You need what you want, and don't just listen to the news. Better believe, just do we cannot lose. It's out of the way, smooth and fools, but it's not my kind of love, little girl. It's out of the way, smooth and fools, and I'm inside out, I'm outside out. It's out of the way, smooth and fools, can't be tried by everybody. It's part of the way, cool and fools, but it's inside out, I'm outside out. That's just the way you steal cool. Your literature eyes make all the rules. Cooking up every sun and goose. Slowly tightening my noose. That's just what you want. Don't listen to the rules. I've been a rough raider, calling up your heart in my mind. I won't pull no fader, sure, but just so much as ask questions. What's up with it now? They got scripture society. Million are watching. Please power the minds and live it every but I'm so for you till I'm hard, got stars for you forever. Could stay. But then I know when I feel that I cannot have been that I wanted to see. I feel what you feel, the songs you hear that I've been living over hell, like water flowing up the well, and I become most everything.